There's a delay, so this is always the awkward period, but I think that people can hear and see me. Hello. I'm going to open up the chat. So I'm really excited to do another one of these live streams, just kind of talking about a specific thing to do with medical ketogenic therapy, but also getting to interact with you guys about any other questions you may have too. So feel free to leave any questions you have about any topic, not just my medical ketogenic groceries, in the live chat. Oh, cool. I was a little bit worried that it wasn't working, but I see someone is messaging. Cool. So yeah, welcome to everyone. So in this live chat, I'm basically just going to be kind of taking you through what my essential groceries are. I get asked that question a lot. What exactly do you eat on medical ketogenic therapy for mental health? And so I'm going to walk you through what the staples are that we use pretty much every day and that, yeah, really we stick to in terms of how we cook. So we've kind of broken this down into a bit of a shopping list. So starting out with different kind of oils that we use. That's a really big one, just in terms of increasing fat for hitting ketogenic therapy ratios. Oh, someone says, love the shirt. I had an argument, or not an argument, a disagreement with Rob beforehand about if it was too loud. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyway, so I guess maybe to clarify first, when you're doing a ketogenic therapy, ketogenic diet, you're looking to hit specific macronutrient targets. So what you're looking for is really high levels of fat intake, moderate levels of protein, and really low levels of carbohydrate intake. Typically on medical ketogenic therapy, you're trying to limit your carb intake to net, or sometimes just total, 20 grams per day. And you're looking for about typically a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 ratio of fats to proteins and carbs. So that said, it can be a little bit difficult, and I found it a little bit daunting at first to figure out, how do I hit that high of levels of fat and still get enough calories and whatnot to sustain me through the day. And so quickly learned that oils and that kind of thing are a really good and easy way to increase your fat intake throughout the day. So the main ones that we typically reach for are, actually, I guess this one is a particularly important one to touch on, MCT oil. I'm bad at explaining this. So not only is this a source of fat, but it also contains, help me out, Rob, medium chain triglycerides, which can serve to increase your ketone levels. Yes. And so this is something that I think a lot of people actually use if they need to increase their ketone levels. Just taking like a shot of this or just throwing it into your cooking. Sometimes I mix it in with various, I do like a keto pudding that I make out of like coconut milk and cream cheese. And yeah, it's a good way to increase that. Don't really cook with that though. The main ones that we cook with are coconut oil. This is a ridiculous tub, but actually you do probably go through it. So yeah, coconut oil, as well as ghee, is one that we use a lot for cooking. And now we talked a bit about this before coming on here in terms of being aware of, smoke points, and how if you're cooking at higher heat temperatures, you're wanting something
more saturated.
that is more saturated. And so things like beef tallow or duck fat or even ghee, this sort of thing, are going to be kind of better choices for cooking, especially at high temperatures. And we have recommended these a lot in terms of, fat intake and increasing ketones, avocado oil and olive oil. But I actually don't know if you should really be cooking with either of these, because at a higher cook point, higher smoke point, they break down.
The avocado oil has a high smoke point, but it's the peroxidation point.
Well, it has a higher smoke. Sorry, Rob is off camera saying that avocado oil does have a higher smoke point than olive oil, which is true. And so a lot of people do reach to this. And I actually cooked with this like exclusively before learning all of this, but it's the peroxidation point.
Where the oils are breaking down.
Yeah, where the oils are breaking down and losing, I guess, nutritional value, or yeah.
Sometimes creating toxic.
I'm doing a bad job of explaining this, but yeah. Pop back into the chat. Yeah, someone said extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil. Totally, we use those and they're great, but not necessarily for cooking with. So I think Rob adds olive oil to a lot of his dishes just to increase the fat and it can be flavorful. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is a way to increase your fat intake. Uh, so yeah, I briefly mentioned like beef tallow, duck fat. I find that those are hard to get a hold of. We found them at a local farmer's market, but that's the only place locally that we've been able to find it. I don't know if it's different where you are from, but those are great options too. Oh, yeah. And then also, so ghee is, what is it? Clarified butter, but you can also cook with regular butter as well. So another good option. All right. Pop into the chat. Someone asked, how much salad and vegetables do you eat per day? Good question. And I'm going to kind of get into that moving down the list when I talk about the vegetables and fruits that I eat. It's not a lot. And I don't know, I have to kind of go through periods of adjusting that a little bit based on where my ketone levels are and what I can kind of tolerate, because there are actually, carbs in fruits and vegetables. So it is something you need to be aware of. And some people can tolerate eating more vegetables than others. But yeah, I will get into a bit later what my staples are around that. But the next ones I will get into are go-to proteins. So, Rob definitely reaches for eggs a lot. That was one that he really leaned on. They're pretty simple to cook and they're pretty versatile. There's a lot of different ways you can prepare them, and they're pretty good in terms of fat content and low carb. Obviously, most proteins are low carb, but they are a little bit high in protein, that ratio. So that's kind of why he does things like add olive oil, avocado, or whatnot to increase that fat content. Eggs. What's sorry?
I like to cook them.
Oh yes, cooking in a lot of butter as well. We've really done a lot of ground beef. This is kind of a staple. We buy this one from Costco because it is organic, and that felt like a good idea to lean more toward, even though it is still lean ground beef. And so when I'm cooking this, I do cook it in a lot of ghee just to increase that fat content. Have been exploring ground bison lately. Oh, Rod got it out there. We don't know how to like keep these out because it's not good, obviously, to keep them out of the freezer. So Rod's running back and forth. But yeah, like what are these? Ground beef burgers have been something that I've really gotten into as well. Putting some cheese on it and adding avocado. Keeping the fat in which it cooks in. You do it in like a skillet. Yeah, a skillet to keep all the fats that you can then pour over top of it. The kind of like keto stereotype bacon. We don't actually do this a lot, but we do have a video that we have posted about a recipe for bacon wrapped avocados. Check that out. It is a good one. All right. And then we have some seafoods that we've been kind of dabbling in. Good fatty fish. Well, not really that fatty. Salmon, but kind of fatty.
Fatty stuff.
Yeah, the fattiest fish you can get, but it is still a little bit low on fat and high on protein. And so again, you just need to add oils or various other creams, coconut cream.
Sauces where we'll do like.
Yeah. So Rob's just talking about how we often make sauces when we're doing stuff like seafood that is higher in protein and less high in fat. Sauces containing like coconut milk mixed with butter, and yeah, just trying to increase the fat content through that. Don't have it here, but I've been getting rotisserie chicken a lot. It's another really versatile meat. I have a few different dishes that I like to make with it. One that I've been making a lot lately is just a chicken salad with the rotisserie chicken. Lots of mayo and increasing the fat like that. Maybe I will share that in a video. Someone said we like getting tallow from Costco. I'm in Canada, and so at my Costco, we do not have that, but cool that you have access to that there. Someone said, I think ground bison has less fat content, therefore 100% grass-fed beef with a higher fat content might be better. Totally. Um, yeah, that is something to navigate. Like oftentimes I think that most people gravitate to the leaner meats, and so that is more easily available in the grocery stores. So again, yeah, if it is a leaner type of meat, you're just going to have to increase the fat some other way. Easiest way to do that is to cook it in a high fat oil of some kind. We use ghee. Oh, someone said I make my own pemmican. It's the perfect keto food. Cool. You know what? We were just at like our local Alberta museum the other day and learned all about pemmican. That's very cool. My understanding is it's like an indigenous, it's like um, animal fat, dried fruit, and there was one other thing, dried berries. Please explain in the comments, but it looked really great. And we were also remarking, wow, that's very keto. Okay. So that's kind of the oils and proteins. And then someone had asked about vegetables and fruits, so I'll kind of get into that. So I have listed as the first thing under vegetable avocado. I think technically that's a fruit, but that's okay. That's something that we add to basically all of our meals. Avocado. I think that at our height, Rob is kind of switching away from keto, but still eating this. But I think we were going through like 2 avocados a day between the two of us. So that's a big staple. And kind of something that we just add to almost all of our meals, just as another way to increase the fat content. And they're really tasty too. And then trying to stick to like more low carb vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, spinach. And those are really, I think, kind of the main ones. I will snack on cucumbers if I'm cutting them up for my kids because they're not bad. But nightshades and stuff like that tend to be higher carb content. So just kind of stay away from that completely. Just ketchup, spinach, cauliflower. And we got all of our groceries for this yesterday, but then Rob cooked a bunch yesterday, so I cannot show you the broccoli and the asparagus. And then another thing to mention actually that I really enjoyed that I did find at Costco was frozen cauliflower rice. It is a little bit high on carb content, but not bad if you do it in moderation. And it was like a really nice way to kind of transition while still feeling like I was eating carbs like rice. And yeah, I really enjoyed bowls like that, and just adding mayo or whatnot to a bowl was really good. We'll talk about this more later, but this is the mayo that we use. It is avocado oil mayo, so not seed oil mayos. That's kind of an important differentiation. Yeah. Yeah, riced cauliflower without and with vegetables are good. I like it. I liked it too. It's very good. Oh, Rob, say hello. Someone said, I'm worried that I'll lose more weight if I do keto. I'm currently underweight. I think that was actually maybe a concern of mine in the beginning too, because I was not at a place where I needed to lose any weight. And I think that is commonly what people think of in terms of keto. And that's the experience of a lot of people, that they do lose weight. I have gained weight while on keto. I think I've gained, I don't actually know at this point. Last time I checked, it was like 8 pounds that I've gained while on keto. And so it's really not just or even necessarily at all about weight loss. It's really about repairing your metabolism and using it as a metabolic therapy. So I think I actually also have been eating like way more calories than I used to as well. And I won't speak on this because obviously I don't understand the science behind nutrition and calories and whatnot, but in my experience, it has been a very separate thing, and it has led to a lot more intuitive eating, I suppose, in terms of understanding what my body needs, and yeah, have been able to eat enough to have actually gained weight. So if that's your concern, it's totally possible to not lose weight while on keto. Okay, so getting into fruits. Fruits are kind of something you kind of need to steer clear of because there is a lot of natural sugars in fruits, and so they're often high in carbs. In very, very moderation, though, I do eat berries. So raspberries, blackberries, sometimes strawberries, though they are a little bit higher. Again, my toddler took off with all of our berries this morning, so they're not full, but these are raspberries and blackberries. Frozen fruits can be kind of nice too. Yeah, that's kind of it for fruits. In terms of snacks, have kind of moved away from, or tried to move away from snacking and just kind of tried to focus on getting the right macro ratios at each of my meals and trying to reach satiation that way without needing to snack. But some certain staples that we have, macadamia nuts. I cannot tell you how many bags of these we go through every month. It's, yeah, but you can get these from Costco. They're very good. And they're the lowest, I think, as far as I know, macadamia nuts are the lowest carb nut you can find. And they're high fat too. In a half a cup, there is 38 grams of fat. Half a cup is a lot. That would be a lot to sit down and eat. Maybe not 50 grams. Actually, yeah, you'd be surprised how quickly you could take that down. So 38 grams of fat, 2 grams net carbs, and 4 grams of protein. We did find, though, that I think these might be mislabeled in terms of carb count. I think it's higher than 2 net grams. So something to check in with yourself on and check in with your ketone levels and kind of figure out, because not all nutrition labels are totally accurate, is something that I have learned through this process. Other snacks. This is bad. I should not buy individually packaged cheeses, but I really like them and they're super easy to grab on the go and stuff, because it is hard to find keto food when you're out and about, kids' soccer games, etc., whatever, and you're out running around. And so it is kind of nice to throw one of these in your bag. These are 0 carb Gouda little mini cheeses, but there's different kinds that you can get too. Explore cheeses. There's a lot of really awesome low carb, sometimes 0 carb options. Found these at Costco. I really like them just as a little snack. They're not super high fat, but they are 0 carb. Allegedly, because there's what's it called inside? Garlic inside, and garlic has carbs. So I don't know how it could be 0 carbs. Again,
serving size.
Yeah, I guess just a very small serving size. Nice to snack on as well. Olives. I didn't explain what they were. Garlic stuffed olives. What else is on my list here? Yeah, cheeses. We have on our list pork rinds. That was something that we ate a lot as a snack the first time we tried keto, but we realized the pork rinds that we have found at Costco are fried in, is that why? They're fried in like vegetable oil. And so we've been kind of avoiding them for that reason. However, there are other kinds of pork rinds that you can find elsewhere, or maybe at your Costco there are other kinds that could be good options in terms of a high-fat, low-carb snack.
Fried in pork fat.
Fried in pork fat is what you're looking for instead of fried in vegetable fat. Rob got really into bone broth for a while. Not high in fat, but good for you. Protein. You would add like MCT oil to it, hey?
Made a nice morning drink with MCT oil. You can make it warm.
He says it making a nice morning drink. I don't know about that. He liked it. Almond butter. Have gotten into throwing that into various like fat bombs or that kind of thing. It's just a nice little, somewhat low carb-ish thing that you can have. Something that we got really into at various points is mixing in like a low carb protein powder into coconut milk and maybe adding some MCT oil too. It's not very high fat and it is like pretty high protein. Obviously, protein powder. And so there were times where having too much of that made my ketones get too low. And so kind of had to pull back. But every now and then it's kind of a nice little treat. I did actually find, we don't have it out here, it's a no sugar company. It's like a keto bomb. It's powdered like protein powder, but it's higher fat content and it's flavored, I don't know, like peanut butter, espresso or something. It's kind of nice. Oh, oops, on the way. Yeah, I've been enjoying putting this into stuff. A little bit on the expensive side, but it's nice. And maybe a better option than protein powder because protein obviously is high protein and you're looking to keep that ratio down comparatively to fats. But I've done other things. I think I shared it in the triathlon video. Maybe we can do a specific video about this. Came up with a recipe combining cream cheese with coconut milk, a little bit of erythritol and vanilla. And you just kind of blend it all together and it creates this really delicious like keto pudding. Pretty high fat, and yeah, that's a nice little snack too. I always drank my coffee black until I went to this like keto conference and heard from everyone saying, oh, you need to add like heavy cream to your coffee. And it's like, wow, yeah, I don't know why I never thought of that. So I go through so many of these now, having it in my coffee throughout the day. Trying to keep coffee to a maximum of 1 to 2 cups of caffeinated coffee and then switching to decaf. Kind of hopped into drinks there. So yeah, coffee and water. Obviously, I drink a lot of electrolytes throughout the day. But we've shared in other videos too that we like to get different kinds of like soda waters. So there's a lot of different options nowadays. What are they? From like LaCroix to, I don't know, there's different brands. We find one at our local grocery store that has really nice flavors, and obviously it's 0 carb because it's just water, but it's nice. Someone said, I don't know why, but my ketones are typically higher after my evening meal versus my midday meal. I don't totally know why that is. And so maybe we could do some digging into that and explore that more on the channel. But I have heard from various people that ketones generally are higher later on in the day. I think they're their lowest in the morning and they get higher throughout the day. So that could be part of that. Or you might want to take a look at your macronutrient ratios for the different meals. Oh, I see that Nicole, my keto coach, is in the chat. Hi, Nicole. SodaStream, good recommendation. Yeah, we used to have one of those. I don't know where it went. That would probably be smart to get back into, hey? Instead of buying a bunch of cans, we still have it. Okay, well, thanks for the reminder. We'll get back into that. That's better. Oh, someone said sweet potatoes too. Good root vegetables. Sweet potatoes are actually like pretty high in carbs because they are a starch. And so on medical keto, I think that's maybe a no-no. Rob is, again, like I said earlier, moving a little bit away from strict medical ketogenic therapy because he does not need to use it as a therapy. And so he's adding back carbs, but sticking to carbs like things like sweet potatoes. So again, just staying away from not staying away from complex carbs, staying away from refined and processed carbohydrates and sugars. And so, yeah, sweet potato can be a great option for that. But I don't know about if you're following medical ketogenic therapy. It might be too high in carbs. Okay, back to my list. We just have like essential spices. That was interesting to go through our spice rack or whatever when we started ketogenic therapy to see just how high a lot of spices are in carbs. I don't think I would have ever thought that. And so really the only ones I really use for cooking are salt and pepper and sometimes garlic powder and sometimes onion powder. Onion powder is a little bit higher in carbs, but it's not bad if you use it in moderation. For baking, Grab the various flours that I use. We'll use almond flour a lot. I posted this in our Discord. Join our online peer support community if you're interested in learning more about using metabolic therapies to treat your mental illness. But I posted a recipe for something that I've been cooking a lot lately. It is like a keto flatbread. It's basically almond flour with mozzarella cheese and cream cheese and a little bit of seasoning and eggs. And it makes this like delicious flatbread that then you can put whatever you want on it. But even just the flatbread has pretty good macros. My daughter like asks constantly for these and don't feel great about giving them to her because they're very high fat content and she's not on keto, but lots of people like them is the point there. So that I use in a lot of different things. Coconut flour. I don't use this in a lot, but some of the baking calls for coconut flour. Obviously, alternatives to regular flour that are keto friendly, low carb.
You use mozzarella in your flatbread, so it's another cheese that you can use.
I said mozzarella.
Okay.
Yeah. We use mozzarella a lot because I think it is actually 0 carb, the kind that we get. You always have to check because some of them are different, even the same kinds of cheeses. And then people have been asking us where we're getting this in Canada. I don't know if you're still not allowed or supposed to have this in Canada, but we've been getting it on iHerb, like online. I think you can get it readily if you're in the States. If you're in Canada, check out iHerb.ca. That's where we get it from. Allulose, right. Rob's like, well, what is it? Allulose. So we have shared a lot about using sugar alcohols like erythritol or monk fruit just to kind of sweeten up stuff or to use in baking or fat bombs or stuff. It's kind of a nice way to kind of transition from a high carb diet if you're craving some of that sweetness or whatnot. But allulose is actually a really cool kind of new development. It's not a sugar alcohol, right? From what I understand. I'm not going to speak too much about this. You can do your own research into it, but it's supposed to be a better option.
It's a rare sugar? I think that's what it's described as.
Rob's just making stuff up off camera. He says it's a rare sugar. Sure. I don't know. Keto friendly. But that is probably something else to talk about. Says keto friendly, but you cannot trust that all the time because there are a lot of products that will say keto friendly or keto product, and they're just not. Either because they actually are like pretty high in carbs or because they have various grains as ingredients or whatever it may be. And so, yeah, that's something to be aware of too when you're doing grocery shopping for your ketogenic therapy, that you can't always trust or rely on the keto labeling. I think we did a whole video on that. I'll put that and a link to that in the description below. Where I made a mistake and believed that products labeled keto were okay for medical keto. Oh, Nicole chimed into the chat. She says that allulose is keto friendly and has beneficial, I said allulose, and has beneficial effects on blood sugar. Thanks, Nicole.
I think she also said I'm right.
What? Oh, Rob also wants me to point out that Nicole says it's a rare sugar, and Rob's right. Okay, what else?
Somebody asked about maple syrup.
What about maple syrup? Ooh, super high sugar. No. I know it, like it seems like it should be because it's like a natural sugar, but it's kind of the same thing with fruits where even though it is maybe more of a natural, less processed sugar, it is still sugar and carbs and it will likely knock you out of ketosis. After having any of the sugar substitutes, does that affect blood sugar or ketone levels in any way with the monitors? Really good question, and that is absolutely something you need to monitor on an individual basis. For me, I've never really noticed any changes from sugar alcohols like erythritol or monk fruit or the allulose in either my ketone levels or my blood sugar. However, I did share a video about getting knocked out of ketosis from what I think was consuming sucralose. And so I think that it is going to vary a little bit from person to person how these things affect each other how these things affect you and your ketone levels and your blood sugar and how you feel. And so again, building up your own personal insight into how these various food items are affecting you is really important. Um, do, 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 do. Someone said, is cauliflower crust pizza keto? Depends. So I saw someone post in our Discord community a recipe for a keto pizza crust that does use cauliflower in it. And as far as I could tell, it did seem like it was pretty keto. However, I have also seen the cauliflower pizza crust like kits at Costco. Maybe you guys have seen those too. Those are very, very not keto friendly. They're still very high in carbs. And so again, you just need to be checking the macronutrients and the nutrition labels of all of these different things. Someone said, what's the Discord? You can find out more and get a link to join at metabolictherapysupport.com. Yeah. What have I missed here? Okay, yeah, just some other things that were helpful in transitioning. So we used this so much, probably used it to the point where we just got sick of it. And I have a habit of doing that, I think. But you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing in terms of simplifying it for yourself, especially in the beginning, just kind of sticking to the same thing that you know is hitting the right macronutrients until you get a better idea of how to hit them in other ways and get more curious that way. So this was really good. And we did things like lettuce wraps to kind of transition away from regular wraps. Things like deli meats, just kind of trying to make it as easy as possible. I think that somebody asked actually for me to speak to supplements, and that might be its own whole other video. We do actually have a video where I go over what supplements I have been on. Maybe I'll throw a link to that in the description. But the main ones that really needed to hit, and I'm not as regimented with my supplements anymore, and maybe I should be, but I definitely at least drink like the powdered electrolytes, which contain sodium. I was pointing at something. Oh, yeah. So we've shared that we have used the Element in the past, but we found like a cheaper, easier to access version in Canada anyway, this Redmond Relight. Allegedly zero carbs. I don't know. There was that whole kerfuffle with element. I don't know. It's fine for me. I don't notice any change to my ketone levels or anything with it. And it's like, yeah, it's good to get in that sodium, potassium, and magnesium. I also, though, have supplemented additionally with like capsules or whatever of magnesium and potassium. L-carnitine has been important to supplement at various points, acetyl L-carnitine. My understanding is that it helps your body to absorb fat, which is obviously important when you are using fat as fuel to produce ketones. Take a multivitamin. Those are kind of the main ones. Pop back into the chat. Oh, I like just a random non-keto question. What are your favorite hobbies? I think I've shared a lot on the channel that I really like to run. I do that a lot and have been getting a lot more back into reading, which has been really, really nice. I think maybe that's something I haven't talked a lot about. I've always really, really loved reading, but gone through periods due to my illness of like not really being able to do it. I couldn't retain information. I couldn't focus or concentrate for periods of time. And so regaining capacity around that as like a hobby that I love in my life has been really amazing. Oh yeah, I would imagine her hobbies are running after Teddy and gang. Yes, they keep me busy too. Someone said, I have heard you mention acetyl L-carnitine. How many milligrams do you take per day, and do you think it helps? I think initially they come in 500 milligrams, the ones that we have, right? I think Rob's going to go fact check me here, but I think I was taking them 3 times a day. So 1,500 milligrams. They're each 500 milligrams. Is that right? Yeah. But I went through a period of experiencing lower ketones. And so I actually increased my acetyl L-carnitine intake to 2,500 milligrams per day. I think Nicole said that I shouldn't go above 3,000. Might be different for a different body composition. I don't know. But that was really, really helpful. And I actually did notice a marked increase in my ketone levels when I increased my acetyl L-carnitine. So something to explore if you are struggling with ketone levels. This is so helpful. I've been taking notes and filling my Amazon cart. Amazing. What were you saying, Rob?
Just comment about reading.
About reading?
Yeah, she could probably speak to. It's another hobby.
I already talked. I just talked about that. Yeah, reading is one of my major motivations for doing this. I want to be able to read again. I think that maybe like you take for granted a little bit, stuff like that as a part of enjoying life, or maybe even if you've been struggling with mental illness that decreases capacity for those things, you almost forget that they're really important aspects of enjoying and experiencing life. And so I really hope that you can, regain that capacity too, because it's a big deal. Someone asked about mushrooms. Yes, I forgot to actually mention that. Sometimes I do eat mushrooms as well. Again, a little bit carby, and so it does need to be in moderation. I think like my kids will not eat mushrooms. I don't know why those are so gross for kids. I don't know. Anyway, and so just kind of stopped buying them, because if I can only eat them in moderation and Rob could only eat them in moderation, then who was going to finish the big carton of mushrooms? So yeah, there's kind of a lot of factors involved, especially if you are feeding a family who is also not eating keto, but yes. Do you find energy issues with running or working out at all on keto? Great question. The first time that we tried keto back in 2020, it was terrible. I had no energy to run, and every single run was just a total slog. I think I realized that that was because we were not supplementing with like electrolytes, and yeah, that was a really big factor, I think, in avoiding keto flu the second time around and having sustained energy to be able to do things like working out and exercising. And it really has not been much of an issue. We thought that maybe the more like anaerobic exercises, like we played soccer where there's, fast bursts of sprinting and stuff, would be more difficult because there's no like easily accessible carbs for our body to use, but was actually really fine. Yeah. And the most of the running that I've done has been like more endurance based and whatnot, but Rob and I are going to try racing a 5K next week. So we'll let you know how that goes. More of like a prolonged, fast, almost sprint. But so far it's been pretty good. To be fair, I have noticed that it is harder to hit the same paces that I did before keto. So I don't know. But again, that said, I have been a little bit leery of experimenting with anything fuel-wise, just for fear of getting knocked out of ketosis and just wanting to be very, very stable mental health-wise before I experimented with like sports performance stuff. But we did actually get, Rob's gonna go grab them. We did actually order these gels, like, the running gels that you can get that are usually packed with sugar and carbs. But these have no sugar in them, and they are 20 grams of extended release carbohydrates. It's called UCAN. I have not tried it yet, so I am not endorsing it, but we have these on hand to experiment a little bit more with it with running. Yeah. Oh, forgot these things. Thanks, Rob. These Shift exogenous ketones have been great. I think I've recommended them in other videos. You can get them on Amazon. They're really, I found them really helpful for if I am sick or if I'm having difficulties with my menstrual cycle. That's been a big one in terms of affecting my like mental health and ketone levels. Just sipping on this throughout the day has been helpful. More helpful though has been these exogenous ketone esters. It's, I think 10 milligrams, oh no, 5 grams of ketones. Yeah. And these ones I actually can't have because they're peach. They're sweetened with sucralose.
You did try them.
I tried it and it basically had no effect because I think the exogenous ketones got like canceled out by the sucralose, like affecting my blood sugar and whatnot. But there is one that is unflavored that I use. So Rob uses these peach flavored ones, but I use the unflavored ones, and it is incredible in terms of increasing. I think the other one is just on the sink there. It is incredible in terms of increasing my ketones and subsequently how I feel. Like I don't even have to look at my ketones after taking this shot. Like 10 minutes later, it's like brain relief. Yeah. So this is the unflavored one that I use. And now when I say unflavored, I mean that it doesn't have a nice flavor added to it. The flavor is like, I think I describe it as tasting like drinking cleaning product. But it is worth it if you can get past that. And we're going to be trying out other kinds of ketone esters as well. We have some delta G coming. So yeah, we'll hopefully be able to share more information about that kind of exogenous ketone esters soon too. I guess this has been kind of long. Should probably look into wrapping it up, but I really like talking with you guys. Thank you for all of your questions. I'm sorry that I can't get to all of them. Do you have any plans to make a video of what you eat daily? So we have one. However, it is a little bit dated now. I think we filmed it like at the beginning of, what year is it? 2024. So a little over a year ago now is when we filmed that. So yeah, totally could do a more updated version of that if that is something that you guys are interested in. Rob is such an awesome personal assistant.
That's
Oh, that's my stepmom said that. Oh, she's just trying to suck up to Rob. Appreciate the love for this shirt as well. Thank you, everyone. And I'll just stick my tongue out at Rob later for not wanting me to wear it.
I said that I trusted you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Do you still continue to eat a 2-to-1 ratio of fat to protein and carbs, or has that ratio gone down or increased at all? Good question. I actually am not super sure because I don't currently, I don't currently measure or track my foods. And so I don't actually know exactly what ratios I'm hitting.
You track your ketones stuff.
I do track my ketones, yes.
You're not just freewheeling it here.
Yeah, Rob's explaining that I'm not just like, I'm making it sound like I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing. That's not the case. I like made sure to build up a very like solid understanding of what foods I can eat and how they affect me and what the general ratios are and stuff. And so I'm always operating from that perspective. And I always have my continuous ketone monitor on, which tells me what my ketone levels are. So I can constantly be like, thinking about, okay, well, what did I eat if my ketones get lower, or what did I do, or yeah, and kind of troubleshooting or adjusting course as I go in that way. But I think I probably actually am a little bit higher than a 2-to-1. I think that I started at like a 1.75 to 1, which is not actually technically keto. I think that was technically a modified Atkins diet. It worked well for me in the beginning, but I definitely needed to increase that as time went on. I don't know if my body just needed more fat to keep up the level of ketones. I got better at using it. I'm not sure. But I definitely did have to increase that to like even 3 to 1 at times, which is more in line with what a typical medical ketogenic diet is. It's typically more 3 to 1 or even 4 to 1. Yeah. But again, it's like going to vary from person to person. And it really ultimately comes down to building your own personal insight about what macros feel best for you, what macros give you the best ketone levels, what ketone levels feel best for you. And it is just this big exercise, really, of getting to know yourself and getting to know what feels best for you. Okay, well, thank you all very much for being here. I really enjoy these live streams, live chats. I don't know what to call them. It's really, really wonderful getting to engage with you all directly. I hope this was helpful in terms of going through our kind of essential grocery items that we use on following medical ketogenic therapy. I was going to get into some recipes that we do, but I think we're going to cut it off here. Maybe one more tip, actually. Rob actually got into putting into ChatGPT or whatever AI you use, the ingredients that we have, and then asking it to suggest recipes with a certain macronutrient ratio. And that was really cool and kind of game changing in terms of like an easy way to explore new ways of using the ingredients you have to follow medical ketogenic therapy. Sometimes you do need to double check that the macro calculations are correct because it's not totally perfect yet. But in terms of suggesting new and exciting options, it's a cool option. All right. Well, I hope to do another one of these again. If you have any suggestions for a topic you would like me to cover or go over in one of these live streams, feel free to suggest. The last one was about monitoring or measuring ketone levels through various means. This one was obviously about essential medical keto groceries. Let me know what else you'd like one of these to be on. And yeah, thank you so much. Wishing you all wishing you all good health, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.